Oh, UFC 291, awesome weekend. One of the only fights that did go to the decision, though, Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. 3-round fight. I actually, going into this weekend, thought it was a 5-round fight. But obviously being a co-main event, but it definitely was a title eliminator. I think it was Alex Pereira's first dipping of the toe into the 205 division, by which I would say he looks like a 205er all along. I've seen him in real life. I shared a card with him and Adesanya a couple fights ago, whenever it was. Actually, I think it was last year, Madison Square Garden. Shoot, it could have been last fight. But he's a big, big man. Very big man. Looking at him, just his muscle structure, the size of his legs, I think back to in that first round when Jan got him up against the cage and Pereira was able to kind of fight him off, threatening a guillotine. Just the size of the man's glutes, the size of the man's butt when he was up against the cage, when Jan was pushing him up against, just the size of both men. Alex was thicker, bigger legs, bigger butt, bigger core. And Jan Blachowicz, I thought, watching his fight against Rockhold, watching some of these knockouts and these crazy fights that he has had, I thought he was a big 205 pounder. And I think he is a big 205 pounder. But Alex Pereira looking that big after going up from 185, the size difference was always a huge factor for me when I was watching him fight Izzy. Standing next to each other, them sharing the cage with each other. It's widely documented. Alex Pereira gets up to like 220 something pounds after weigh-ins. I think after this one, it was 228. I remember couple fights ago, or watching, videos that he posts, because he loves to post those videos where he weighs in at 185 or 184 and a half, whatever it is, and then ends up weighing 205, 210 that night. That is a lot of weight to add on. And it's just hydration. I mean, when a lot of times when I'm sitting around talking to people about, well, I'm 25 pounds over, or I'm 20 pounds over, it blows people's mind. But if you think about it, a gallon of water is 8 pounds. So within an hour, he's gained 8 pounds. Probably within 30 minutes, he's gained 8 pounds. Within an hour, hour and a half, he's gained 16 pounds. Then you add a little bit of food to the mix. Obviously, Alex, for a guy who looks as long and lean as he is, he does have a large amount of muscle mass because he is very lean. But he looks like a 205 pounder. I think he's going to be a problem at 205 with his striking skills. Obviously 30, 40 kickboxing fights, and then now coming into the UFC, and he's only had, 10 or so fights. He lost his first fight ever in mixed martial arts. I love those guys. When I was doing a little bit of research, I love the guys who lose their first fight in mixed martial arts and continue to decide to go. Obviously, he's a little bit of a unfair, he's kind of an unfair looking at that. It's kind of unfair looking at that because he did have 41 combat sports fights, because he had 40 kickboxing fights, 1 boxing fights before he even came into mixed martial arts. So it wasn't like the average person who kind of starts training mixed martial arts, comes in, loses their first fight, and still decides to continue to go and then wins a world title. Obviously, he lost the fight before this to Izzy, and he has talked about going back down to 185. Makes a lot of sense. I think the trilogy between him and Izzy, the buildup, even him losing to Izzy, I think was probably a good thing for the actual trilogy of it, because when those guys do actually step inside the octagon again and they fight for a world title again, it's going to be absolute bananas. But he is big for the weight class. Obviously, Jan had some, that first round was very tough, but I would say, since we're talking about Alex here, Jan controlling him on the ground, but Alex never looked like he was in danger. Jan got a couple rear naked chokes. It was always on the chin. Alex did a good job of tucking the chin. He's a strong, strong guy. To be able to fight off Jan like he did in that round, where Jan had what we call a body triangle, or a figure 4 around the body, which is probably one of the worst positions you can be in mixed martial arts, because a man, the strongest part of his body is his legs, and he's able to wrap them around your waist and put that foot behind the knee and just keep it locked for, it was probably 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes. And then for Alex to be able to get up in the second round and third round and be able to continue to pick them apart and land a lot of low kicks, We saw Jan's leg being compromised within the first couple shots that he took to the lower leg, and then obviously demobilized Jan a little bit. But that second round was really when those low kicks obviously came in, because they were actually on the feet most of the time. Low kicks and jabs and his length. I think Jan realized, okay, if I don't get this takedown, this is going to be a long night for me. This is a tough guy to be standing in front of. Alex Pereira, he doesn't fight crazy fast-paced. He picks his shots. I wish he spoke English, because it would be a lot easier. He'd be a lot more vocal, and it'd be a lot easier for him to not always have to have a translator in his press conferences, the lead up to the fights and all those kind of things, because I would love to hear more from him, but he is a very quiet guy. But he's very cerebral in his thoughts or his approach to the game. He doesn't over punch, doesn't over kick. He picks his shots and he chooses them wisely, and he picks people apart. And he's got power. We saw that with the numerous knockouts that he's had. But Jan just tried to go takedown after takedown. Had a couple shots here and there where he landed some punches, but to me, that second round was absolutely Alex Pereira. That was when he really got his rhythm. He did get taken down in that second round, and then he was able to get back up. So being able to get back up out from underneath Jan and to be able to get up, it shows that Alex Pereira isn't just a striker, isn't just a kickboxer. And truthfully, is he ever going to go out there and submit guys and win world titles by submission? That's not his forte. All he needs to do is have good wrestling defense, good grappling defense, and then by nullifying the grappling of his opponent, he can then stay standing and pick them apart like he did Jan in that second round. Third round, continued to stuff more takedowns. He was eating up Jan's front leg, and the welt on his leg, I wish we had it pulled up here, but that welt was very visible. John, DC, Joe, we're all talking about it, and it is tough. I've had those welts. We've seen them more and more these days as guys do more and more of those low kicks. Gaethje did it to me. That was very tough. Obviously, this was the BMF card, so Gaethje and Poirier were in the headliner. But the biggest thing here, I thought Alex was big at 185, so that would make him about average at 205. The dude's a big 205er. I have no idea. I truthfully have no idea how he makes and made 185 for all of those years. So if you think about going from 185 to 225, it's 50 pounds. And the dude was not chunky. The dude is not chunky. He didn't carry a lot of excess fat. He still looked like the Alex, like the body type at 185. So for him to be able to traverse between both weight classes, win a world title at 185, and then come up to 205 and fight the number 3 guy in the world, Alex Pereira is now going to have a number 2 or a number 3 next to his name. Might very well get the next title shot. That's a very interesting weight class. Obviously, Jamal Hill having to now sidelined with an Achilles injury and having to give up the belt. 205 is very interesting. So I think it's a great time for Alex to have gone up. But we all know we want to see that Izzy trilogy. We have to see the Izzy trilogy. The arrows being shot in both directions. Obviously, Alex winning the first time they fought, ending it with arrows, and then Izzy ending it with arrows in the last fight, which was awesome to watch and fun to watch. But let me know what you guys think. Is Alex going to be a champion at 205? I think he's got all the tools. I think he's got the body type. I think he's got the experience. I think he's got the championship mentality. I think he has the arsenal to be able to go out there and win the 205 belt. And then maybe he holds the belt, cuts down to 185, and tries to become champ with one of the biggest trilogies that we're going to see in this sport in a very long time. So let me know in the comments what y'all think. Thank y'all so much for subscribing and liking and commenting. We're going to keep on bringing you guys awesome content. I think Alex Pereira, Glory champion turned UFC champion at 185, now up at 205. The man's got a future. So 205 champ in the next year or so, Alex Pereira. That's my prediction. God bless. We'll see you at the top.